He poured the champagne before he spoke. That was his mistake. If he'd looked at me first, really looked, he might have seen it. The calm before a storm that already knew its target. Instead, he raised his glass, his eyes gleaming with self-satisfaction, and said, "Merry Christmas, darling. There's something we want to share." We. That single word sliced through the air sharper than any knife I could have held. She stood beside him, soft pearls, trembling hands cradling her stomach, her smile painted in innocence. My replacement. My punishment. He turned to her, pride swelling in his chest like a man introducing his grandest achievement. "She's pregnant," he said, his voice heavy with triumph. "We're having a baby, a real family." And then he looked at me, for approval, for forgiveness, for humiliation. He wanted me to cry, to crumble, to scream that the universe was cruel, that my womb was empty, that I was less of a woman than her. But I just smiled, slowly, ironically, because I had been waiting for this moment, and he had no idea that the game was already over. I met Adrian 8 years ago. He was the kind of man who made promises look convincing. Sharp suits, softer lies. I fell for the way he said my name, like it was a secret only he could keep. We built a life, or, more accurately, I built it, and he occupied it. I believed we were a team, even when I felt like a background character in my own marriage. The doctors called it infertility. He called it my failure. I thought he was grieving too, but grief doesn't have lipstick on its collar. The first time I noticed, I didn't confront him. I watched, observed. The late nights at the office, the sudden need for cologne before leaving, the password he changed on his phone after years of openness. When I finally found the messages, I didn't cry. I read every one. Memorized the way he spoke to her, softer, warmer, freer than he'd ever been with me. He told her I was barren, cold, a mistake he couldn't undo. Funny, because I had already started undoing him. It started with the finances. Every asset in our marriage was under joint ownership, or so he thought. I'd rewritten that structure a year before, after his first business trip that lasted too long. He never noticed the lawyer I hired under my maiden name, or that the shares he bragged about now legally belonged to me. Then came the company. He ran it, but I owned it, quietly, through a trust he signed for tax reasons that he never understood. He was always too arrogant to read the fine print. And the girl, Elise, 24. She worked for his firm, sweet, naive, and exactly the kind of woman who believed his version of the story. I almost pitied her. Almost. When I learned about her pregnancy, I saw my opportunity. I reached out, carefully, not as his wife, as a concerned woman, a quiet friend. She confessed everything to me, every lie he'd told her, how he promised he'd leave me after Christmas. That was the last promise he ever made. So here we were, Christmas Day, the tree glowing behind him, the scent of pine and hypocrisy filling the room. He'd expected tears. Instead, he got the truth. I lifted my glass, met his eyes, and said, "Congratulations, but you might want to get a second opinion." He frowned. "What are you talking about?" I smiled wider. "Because the baby isn't yours." His face drained of color. The room fell silent. Even the fire seemed to hesitate. Elise's breath hitched. "What?" I looked at her, kind, broken Elise, and whispered, "I'm sorry you had to find out like this. But I had to be sure. So I had the test done." I pulled the envelope from my purse, slid it across the table. My hands didn't shake. I sent a sample from one of Adrian's grooming kits to a private lab. The results came yesterday. She opened it, read, and the tears that followed weren't mine. He was sterile, had been for years. The diagnosis dated 6 months after his accident at the gym, the one he never told me about. But the file on his computer told me everything. He knew. He'd blamed me for something that was his own shame to carry. Now the truth stood between us, cold and absolute. He tried to speak, to explain, to reach for control that no longer existed. But I stood first, calm, certain. "I've already filed for divorce," I said quietly. "The company's mine. The house, too. I left you the car. It suits you. All shine, no substance." He looked at me like a man waking up from a dream into a nightmare. Elise couldn't meet his eyes. I walked past him, pausing only once at the door. "Merry Christmas, Adrian," I whispered. "You always wanted a child. Now you can start by taking care of yourself." I didn't look back. Outside, the snow was falling, soft, quiet, indifferent. People talk about revenge like it's a storm, loud, destructive. But they're wrong.